Oh my god, it's the Comic Literate podcast again, and I did not prepare the intro like I normally do, so all I will say is, welcome back to the most pretentious, yet also somehow most lowbrow comic book podcast that you've ever listened to.
We hit both markets, baby. And Ryan has just played me the a cappella intro music from last week. I can only apologise, because I did all three parts one after the other. Bear in mind, I'm not a singer, so
no, really?
The bass is a little bit off pitch. What I will say, though, is pretty good time. Like, they're all largely in time with each other.
They're almost the same time. For having done it just off the cuff, no planning, you did a good job.
Given that...
And some say the editing was pretty good on it as well.
Well, I was about to make a complaint there, which is that you edit this in professional music editing DAW. You have a DAW, right?
Yes.
Like you lined those three things up in a DAW.
Do you think the DAWs ever used a DAW?
No, the DAWs probably didn't use a DAW. They probably used an actual audio workstation as opposed to a digital one.
Shame.
But you could have pitch shifted the bass line just to make it fit.
Look, I've already told you. As soon as I had the idea, I thought, I'm doing the absolute minimum work to see if this is a thing. If it's even feasible as a thing, I'm just putting as it is.
And you did that, and it was great. It was a lovely moment.
Yes.
So, comic book. This week, we read one. I read all of it.
Wow, big praise.
I did the reading. I did my homework.
So for anyone wondering who somehow has clicked on the episode without looking at the title, we are looking at Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, which is a 3-part limited series that was just released. Third issue was a couple weeks back, I think, from when this episode comes out. One I've been eyeing up for a while. I saw that when the first issue was coming out, I thought we're definitely going to do this. Mainly because the writer of it, which I don't think you know about before this, is the person who wrote 8 Billion Genies.
Oh, do you know what? You told me we were reading something by that guy.
Yeah,
you didn't tell me what it was.
I actually meant another thing that we're actually not going to be able to do for a while because it turns out the release schedule was not like what I thought it was going to be. Right. So we're going to be doing that later. But we are doing this that's from that writer. So that's something. And
pretty fucking good.
I really enjoyed it.
Really fucking good, Ryan.
I really enjoyed it. And
so Ryan and I did a thing recently that necessitated me being able to see his computer. And so he HDMI'd it into his TV screen while we recorded. And you've just started doing it for every episode now. Is there a reason, or is it just because you like it?
I think there's been a couple times when I've been like, oh, it's like this, and Googled something, and then it's like, oh, I can't turn my laptop around because it's got like 4 things plugged into it for this setup.
No, so I fuck with it. I really like having a bit of an insight into what's going on that side of the computer while we're recording.
It makes things a lot easier. We should have done it ages ago. So this is a story by the writer of the dialogue, Charles Soule. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the art by Steve Mcniven. So credited as both doing the story because there's actually some interesting parts at the end of the issues, which I'm totally fine if you didn't read. Like, I didn't know they were there till I got there. But what they do is they give examples of the screenplay, basically, by Charles Soule.
Man.
So it writes out, and the way he writes it out, he kind of writes like just a description of the page without going strictly into the specific panels.
Yeah.
So what Steve Mcniven as the artist had to do was kind of interpret it in his way, what the actual like panel layout was going to be. So we actually have an idea of who actually did the panel layout. So example of that first page, you've got Matt with his stick in a cemetery.
Yeah. And
it literally is just it's described by Charles Soule as the panels of the first page follow the tapping of Matt's stick, and he finds a grave, and then we pan to the grave. So he just writes it like that, and then it was up to Steve Mcniven to interpret that and actually lay it out on the page.
So can we talk about what Steve Mcniven did here?
Well, I was very interested to get your opinions on the art, because I did not know where you're going to fall in this. I've got a lot to say about it. So starting with the arting, what did you think of it?
This comic is visually striking throughout.
Yes, that's exactly.
Striking. I think it looks fantastic for the most part.
See, in a kind of similar sense, I thought it was really unpleasant looking in a lot of it that extremely complemented the story and worked really well. we've said before, it kind of reminded me a little bit of John Romita Jr.'s Daredevil, his Man Without Fear, and similar to this, consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
And this is like all over the place in some parts.
It is.
But it just drew me in. And I would even, is there like a modern phrase for like ugly, but it's captivating, if that makes sense? Do you know what I mean? Like where it's not aesthetically pleasing, but it's striking. Like it's off, but in a way that draws you in. Like that's what I kind of find from this.
Like a Labubu.
Sure. I've seen that on like social media. I'm like, I actively don't want to know what this is.
I'm still not 100% sure I do know what a Labubu is. I've been places recently where my partner has pointed out fake Labubus to me, but I think they're like an ugly, cute doll.
Yeah,
and that's really collectible.
Is that the pregnant partner?
Yes, Ryan.
All right, that's all we're doing.
No, so yeah, I think there is a certain quality to this. I totally agree with you. It is fuck ugly, isn't it? It's really ugly. It's jarring. It's a bit grotty looking,
but it fits the narrative and the where the story's set. Like it's a world that's off. It's a bad future. So it looking off like just looks, but as opposed to like the amount of comics we see, you know, the mid comics from the big two where it just looks fine.
Yeah.
And the setting is meant to be like, it's a dark dystopian future and everything's bad. And you look and it's like, well, it looks fine. Like it aesthetically just looks fine.
One of the things, and this is it, I think it looking ugly is an aesthetic choice.
Yes.
What is done really well, very consistently, is the composition of all of these pieces of art, the way that the panels are laid out, the visual storytelling is all really good. Like the art is doing its job. It's just a bit gnarled and twisted and ugly.
Yeah.
But I absolutely do not think that's to its detriment.
No, exactly. And that's why I was like trying to pick my words carefully.
Yeah,
it's like it's great art in terms of what it like made
it's just
me
not
feel.
Visually pleasing.
Yeah, exactly. It's intentionally ugly, I think. And like Murdock looks like old, like all the extra lines on his face. He looks fragile and weak and stuff. I tell you what's crazy as well. What it reminded me of especially was the comic book Spider-Man Reign.
Yeah.
Do you remember which one that one was?
I do.
I think this style is like really close to that. Like extra lines, looks off. And I did not like the Spider-Man Reign art.
I don't think I did either.
But that was more because there were backgrounds where it looked like a photo, like an actual like live action photo with a comic book drawn forefront,
rotoscoped over it.
Yeah, and I was like, that it just looked off. Like it looked like two different art styles in the same panel.
Yeah,
and that was it. This is all the way through. Like this is consistently weird drawn lines and faces and people and stuff.
I mean, ultimately though, even though everything is a bit distended and a bit ugly, for the most part, all of the faces are exactly where they should be, and everything is very proportionate and well drawn. So there's like a panel. It's maybe the 4th or 5th page of the first issue, and we see Matt Murdock getting a ticket for the ferry to get him across the river in New York, and we see we see kind of the back of his head, but from a 45-degree angle. That is textbook. That is exactly what his face should look like from that angle. The ears and the eyes are perfectly in line. That hairline looks fantastic. That jawline's great. That mouth is great. Those glasses are exactly where you'd expect them to be. Everything is exactly the fuck where it should be. And that is often my issue with the art. It's like, okay, give me something fantastical, but then when you turn it 45 degrees and pose it, I want it to look as though it was that last panel moved 45 degrees and posed, not to look like something entirely different. And that's where I get annoyed, is where things don't look consistent panel to panel. I don't care if, you know, there's a quirk of the art style where the eyes are all two or three sizes too big, and they're like 10 degrees further up the forehead than they should be. If it's on every character, and when you pose all of them and you flip them around, it's all exactly where it should be, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you've got in here. Like, this is, it's like, it's grotty and unpleasant to look at, and it's not very visually pleasing, but it's technically really good.
So this might be the telltale sign. I tell you what, actually, I've got an interesting bit of information about the art style for this, but it's the telltale sign that it's someone who's a really good artist and has intentionally, like, this was their final idea to get across. So they did the basics right, and then they added all this, like, it feels like it's a bunch of shit on top. It's the surface level stuff. It's like cracked and weird lines and corners on lines and stuff.
They've nailed the basics and then chosen a really strong aesthetic that they've applied through the whole comic book.
Like, it's like almost like the final texture, like the outside texture of all the subjects and the panels and stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, even if you look at the XYZ shading on that sleeve, I don't know if you know much about what I mean.
No.
But when you draw a draping sleeve, an easy way to do it is to put an X, a Y, and a Z, and it gives you the rough shape of a sleeve, right? That looks really fucking good.
There's lines and there's light and dark in the color that's separating like creases and stuff as well.
It's beautifully well shaded.
Yeah.
That's shaded really nicely, but not overworked. It's still in a really simple comic book style, and it still looks a bit kind of grotty and you know, but looking at it, those ruffles all sit exactly where they should, and then the way that they've textured that jacket makes it look like it's maybe not been washed in a while. And like the Staten Island ferry, you know, the way that they've textured the floor and the puddles around everyone's boots, it makes it all look really grotty, but it's all technically really well done. I think this is a really great example of artwork that maybe 2 and a bit years ago when we first started this would have looked at and gone, oh, it's a bit ugly.
Yeah.
And after years of reviewing comic books, we now have a more sort of we have a bigger toolkit.
Yeah.
Of things to talk about when we're reviewing comic books to actually say, oh no, this is artfully ugly.
Yes, intentionally ugly.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been the longest we definitely spent on a comic book character's sleeve, for the example of the art. But I totally agree with everything you said. What's interesting about the artist is, so not surprised here, they are someone who's worked with Marvel a lot in the past, right? But I thought, looking at this, I was like, is this like their normal style, or is this, you know, they were the artist on Old Man Logan, the first Old Man Logan.
Which we both loved.
Yeah. And like, bring up an example here. Like, this is, you can see the similarities. It's a panel of Old Man Logan fucking up one of the Hulk kids in the original plot. But you can see that line work, but it's like a completely different fucking style.
Different art style. More Marvel House, more kind of, you know, sort of, I mean, Marvel House from the past decade, really, but still very clean. Oh, I remember this, Pat. I remember this issue. Yeah, I mean, clean as fuck, man. Really crispy clean.
When I checked that, then I went back to this because, again, I just wanted to see, like, what is this what they normally do? And it's not. So again, it even further confirmation that they were like, this is how it should look.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this. Not, I'm doing a comic book and just like bashing out whatever your normal style is.
They clearly had a really strong sense of how they wanted this to look. And I think when we get into the big bad, so there's certain characters relating to the big bad's plot.
The BBG?
The BBEG, the big bad evil guy.
Yeah.
Who just look so fucking right in that art style.
Yes.
Like, they look gnarly and distended and kind of decaying.
I mean, everyone who is a character, so that, well, we'll talk about later, it's set in the near future. I think Matt Murdock's maybe about 60 or early 60s in this, right? So every character, if they were like a hero or a villain that we know from the normal time, they're going to be not just old, but like battle worn, weathered, like just like in a worse shape than someone who wasn't fighting regularly during their like prime years, you know?
This is a story that maybe resonated with me a bit more than it would have done 10 years ago, because it is a story about decay.
Yes.
And Ryan and I are at a certain age where our bodies are now dying faster than they regenerate.
I'm 21. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, all right.
21 forever.
Ryan, you and I have known each other for more than 20 years.
Yeah, but I stopped aging for a bit. I've started again now because it was getting weird, but yeah.
Did you just stop aging for a bit in our mid to late 20s?
Yeah, basically.
That tracks.
The other thing I'd say about the art, and this is more of a panel layer thing, but I think you'll agree, common thing with great Daredevil stories, as we've read them, is how they depict his powers and stuff.
Yeah, and I didn't love that as much here.
There were ones where I was just like, that's a general technique that's used a lot, and it's like, it's fine, whatever. But there was some specifically, so there's a bit later where I can't get into it now because it's a story thing. So I'll put a pin in that for later.
Yeah, I like the way it was done in some panels, not as much in others. It was probably my main complaint about the art, was a certain panel where in the same panel we see Daredevil kind of moving across it in 4 different iterations, and I was like, you maybe could have depicted motion in a better way than that.
Yeah.
Like there are better ways of you showing me a character in motion. But yeah, so maybe some of that wasn't as nailed down as it could have been. But that is a very, very particular comment on a comic book that otherwise I found to be probably the most visually interesting thing we've read in the past 6 months.
Yeah. And the thing we always say as well is even just when it's different to the normal mid-house styles, like that's...
And this isn't Ultimates. This is 616, isn't it?
It's the future, so it's like a possible future. Like you can say it was the 616, but when it's X amount of years in the future, like it's like Days of Future Past. Like the X-Men have 2 big in the future storylines, which is Days of Future Past and I think it's called Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
2 different baddies have taken over essentially. They're both popular stories and they both keep referring back to them, but ultimately it's like they can't both be the future. So,
well, I suppose Days of Future Past, they changed the future. So technically they both could have happened, but it's just different time. Oh, no. Yeah. Let's not get into that bullshit.
My brain. No, these are, as I think, counted as like the alternate universes as well. It's just it forward in the future as opposed to them. Because I mean, at one point we got Old Man Logan went back in time and existed long normal Logan. He was like, well, I don't remember any of this happening. It's like, well, your universe has probably ended then because you're here now and everything's different now. So yeah, that I think, unless you've got anything more to say about the art.
No.
I think getting into the story, the first thing we want to talk about is the setting and like where this all kind of takes place, because we're already talking about it now anyway.
So yeah, this is new. It's New York, isn't it?
Yeah. So I thought going into this, there was a chance that this was going to be the Old Man Logan universe. And I thought that while reading it up till a point.
Do those two meet a lot? Is there crossover between? Because there's some superheroes that cross over more than others, aren't there?
Some, yeah.
Logan and Daredevil too that cross over much.
I don't think Daredevil's he's not in Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
So I had to look afterwards because I didn't know if this was or not, because we weren't. So what I was expecting was, if it was in the Old Man Logan universe, I thought I was going to get this takes place in the Old Man Logan universe where this, and this has happened.
Yeah,
and we didn't. So I was like, are they assuming I know it is, or is it not?
It also doesn't really spoon feed you much.
No, and that's good as well.
Like it doesn't explicitly tell you it's in New York. What it does is put him on the Staten Island ferry and then have a news reporter talk about Hell's Kitchen.
Yes, and the world in general.
Again, Hell's Kitchen is not a neighborhood in New York that is often referred to as Hell's Kitchen anymore.
No, I think it is more nowadays because of the rise of Daredevil popularity.
Oh, has he? Because Hell's Kitchen was a neighborhood in Manhattan that
I don't think it was in Manhattan. I think it was near Manhattan. I think.
Is it not? Is Hell's Kitchen? Check.
Let's check.
I'm pretty confident that I've walked through Hell's Kitchen and it is in Manhattan. You're gonna get the TV show. You need to put Borough.
Hell's Kitchen, Manhattan. You're right.
Yeah. It's near. Yeah. Fucking 9th Avenue. Yeah. So Hell's Kitchen is I've been to, it's Chinatown. So most people nowadays would refer to Hell's Kitchen as either Little Italy or Chinatown.
Right.
But Hell's Kitchen was like a rough neighborhood back in the 80s, which is probably
It's why
they put him there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's not anymore.
Yeah, so Hell's Kitchen is like the bottom edge of Manhattan. Because you kind of walk through, you're coming from Brooklyn and you go through Chinatown to get to the financial district. But it's very much Manhattan and it's very much a neighborhood that anybody who spent any amount of time in New York would be like. I've literally visited once and I was like, yeah, I know where fucking Hell's Kitchen is. It's there.
And it's probably been gentrified, presumably, by now.
Well, I mean, Chinatown is like, Hell's Kitchen isn't an area that many people would live in anymore because it's like 3 or 4 city blocks, and half of it is Chinatown, the other half is Little Italy, and it's all fucking restaurants.
Yeah, but then mostly it's flats, like above restaurants, like any kind of
city.
I
suppose, and particularly New York, which is notoriously tall, so there would absolutely be people living on top of all the businesses, wouldn't there? Yeah, makes sense.
But so this universe is not the Old Man Logan universe, and the
categorically,
and the reason I know that is because I looked it up and saw the characters in this, including Matt Murdock, their versions in the Old Man Logan universe, and they're not these versions.
Oh, so Matt Murdock is in the Old Man Logan.
He's in that universe. He wasn't in the Old Man Logan story, but after that they did Old Man Hawkeye and Old Man Quill, and I think another one after that. But they
really wanted to wring a few quid out of that concept,
well,
didn't
it was
they?
really popular, so obviously.
Yeah, I think Old Man Logan was one of the, if not the first Big 2 comic that you actually were able to get me to read.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you were like, well, you've seen the Wolverine films when you were younger.
Yeah, and then they made Logan afterwards, which was loosely based on Old Man Logan. So
yeah,
to show like how popular a comic that was. So it's no surprise they were like, can we get anyone else in this universe?
Yeah.
But the thing in Old Man Logan, that universe is Red Skull leads all the villains to unite and take on all the heroes like in a surprise attack, and they kill most of them. So that's why it's shit in that future. In this universe, we just get told about there was a war at some point, and New York just sucks now because they're post-war. We don't know what the war was or who it was fought by. And I say that as, if it is mentioned in the comic, I've missed it.
No, I kept scanning for it.
Yeah, the one thing
I looked really hard for it, and there was no indication as to what they were talking about.
But then again, there's opposite of that when they spoon feed us the story and tell us everything that's happened beforehand. This felt like you're in it, and you don't need to everything else is irrelevant. All you need to know is where they are now, what the status is now.
This was incredibly refreshing.
Yeah. People are hungry, New York sucks, things are destroyed, and everyone's just trying to get by, but it just generally sucks now for everyone.
Matt Murdock doesn't have his powers anymore.
Yes.
He's a good guy still. He runs a soup kitchen, and my God, does he have some Catholic guilt.
Yeah. He loves it.
Oh my God. I mean, can we get into the Catholic stuff?
Yeah, let's get into the Catholic stuff.
Because I think it's one of the things that I'm realizing, and again, this is, Daredevil.
This is issue 1 stuff, by the way, for anyone listening.
Yeah, Daredevil is a favorite of Ryan's. He's a hero that I've just kind of been learning about the past 6 months, really.
Trying to bring that up. Literally my phone.
Yeah, literally his lock screen. That's sad.
That's cool. That's a cool screen.
Look, like loved ones.
Oh, so she made the running then?
Oh, fuck off. I knew I shouldn't have done that.
Walked into that one.
I did, didn't I? The Catholicism was one of the things that I'm learning about Matt Murdock.
Yes.
And in here it's rife. Like, there are many points where he refers to himself as God's warrior.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it.
Like he'll be giving himself a pep talk, and he's like, "Don't worry, you're God's special soldier." Not in as many words.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of sense that I got from it.
And that's, I think, what makes him such a fascinating character. Like, and even for me, like, I don't know if I've mentioned on this podcast before or not, we've talked at length about it, but generally, I think my toxic trait, if I were to pick one, is a lower tolerance for just organized religions in general. Like,
you're better now than you were 20 years ago.
Yeah, I used to be the militant atheist who watched Bill Hicks too much, and Richard
even
Dawkins
worse, you were the militant humanist.
What's the difference?
Humanism is atheism taken to the point where it almost kind of humanism is like the pseudo-religious belief in atheism, you know?
That sounds like an oxymoron.
Well, it is. That's the joy of it.
Right.
But
now I'm a reluctant atheist.
Bill Hicks, what's his name? Richard Dawkins. They all kind of teeter on that humanism as opposed to atheism thing.
Yeah. So
a really great example of an atheist who rejects humanism is Ricky Gervais.
But he's also an insufferable arsehole sometimes.
Oh, he's an insufferable prick, because I think he doesn't he define himself as like a
I don't know enough to say yes or no.
He defines himself as some kind of agnostic. He's like, I'm a critical agnostic or something like that. Let's not get into other people's religious beliefs.
I mean, at this point, I'm just like, I don't have enough time to care, really, and just let people have what they want if they're not hurting everyone. Like, that's
talking about religion is like a fun little thing for us as British people. What I always forget is that a good subsection of our listenership are American.
Yeah,
and over there, it's like a whole different thing.
it's a little more higher stakes, high octane.
At least we're talking about Catholicism today, though, because the Americans aren't as big on Catholicism, are they?
I mean, they've got like sections. Like if you think about the immigrants who have brought Catholicism over. I mean, the Irish, the Italian, presumably the other ones I can't think of off the top of my head, but
mostly the Irish and the Italians, because most of the other Europeans who would have. I'm trying to think like the big kind of the ethnic groups that came over in en masse to America in the kind of 19th or 20th century.
Pun intended, en masse.
Yeah, en masse. Nice, thank you. A lot of them would have had their own Orthodox churches.
Yeah.
And an Orthodox church is kind of, it's a more Romanized version of like a Lutheran church. So like a Church of England church, but earlier and more Romanized. So like the Greek Orthodox church.
Yeah.
Like Greek people coming to America wouldn't have brought as much Catholicism because they would have had their own orthodoxies.
Right. So
Fuck, I'm a loser. God, I'm such a fucking nerd.
Hey, we host a comic book podcast, so I think you're fine.
But no, the Catholic stuff is like way heavier here.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's because we're presented with a Matt Murdock who lost all his powers presumably quite a long time ago.
But he's always been this deep in Catholicism. Yeah. But the reason I say all that and saying about my general reaction to religion in general is I find it a really fascinating aspect of Matt Murdock. Like, I think because especially he is a character who not just wrestles with like morality in Catholicism, but he is someone who is actually actively doing stuff and then considering his actions, as opposed to someone who's just musing on philosophy or, or morality or whatever. And he's actually, it's a part of his everyday life, and he's always struggling with it because he is the good that I think people aspire to when it comes to being religious, like the care about your fellow man and all that stuff.
He is, isn't he? And
he's also risking his eternal soul because he's going out beating the shit out of people, like someone prompted. And I don't think there's a self-defense clause in like the Bible or any religion, as far as I know.
Well, I mean, there is a pretty firm get out of jail free clause baked into most modern interpretations of Catholicism.
But it's different when he's going out knowing it's a sin and doing it anyway, and he's not asking for forgiveness. Like
no, he's not. You very rarely see him say any Hail Marys, and God loves the sinner.
But that's what I mean is his version, and ultimately every religion is someone's version. Like whether you've created it yourself or you're listening to someone else, like you're listening to a version and interpretation of it, right? His version is, if I didn't go out and save people, that would be his sin. It might not be a sin in the rules of the Bible, but to him, he could not live with that. And then you give that character the ability to hear like an entire block's worth of everyone in it and hear what's going on. You make a character who cannot help but act, but it goes against the tenets of, don't go out and hurt people. And that's what I find so fascinating about the character.
Yeah, and I think what we get here is a more mature Matt Murdock.
Yeah,
because he's aged to a certain point in his life.
I think he's about 60 in this.
He's given up law.
Yes,
because something bad has happened at some point. He only alludes to it.
Yeah,
he talks to Foggy.
Yes, later on he talks to Foggy,
and Foggy is his partner in his law firm, isn't he? And he talks to him and he says, after this thing, I couldn't possibly practice law anymore. And so it's like, he's kind of, he's quite mature and he's quite sensible now. And even at this point, he's still like, well, I've got my powers back for just a bit.
Yeah,
I need to go fucking do some good with it, right?
The main crux of the story as we get into is he's without powers and then gets his powers back. And that's like the most obvious thing, because it'd be a pretty boring Daredevil comic if he never had powers.
Well, I think it would be fascinating.
I think it'd be a fascinating part of a story.
Yeah.
Which they do here to an extent.
And this is what I was about to say is probably my favourite thing about this, is that he's busy doing hero work, but his powers are only intermittent.
Yes.
And because he's going out without a stick, when he loses his powers, the world just goes black for a second.
Goes blind again.
And he'll be mid-fight, and he's suddenly like dipping in and out of being blind. And so like, you'll be at a pivotal point in a fight scene and suddenly there's a black panel and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. And for him especially as well, it's not just a quote unquote normal person going from sight to unsighted. It's him going from a three-dimensional mapping of his entire surroundings and hearing extending even past that and smell and touch everything to blind and normal human senses, every other sense, which is like if you jump from one to the other, it would, as you say, the entire world, like every sense feels like it's shut down, even though he can taste and smell and hear and touch to a, again, normal human level. But if you jump from super power level version to normal, like that's got to be even worse.
Well, because when he goes to see Foggy, he says, "Oh, it was really nice to see you again." Because obviously he's mapping Foggy while he's talking with him. And and I just think it adds this whole dimension, this whole level of jeopardy, where not only is, because Daredevil's powers didn't make him any stronger or faster, did they?
It's so there's a kind of weird, like he hasn't got super strength or super speed or anything like that, but because his touch is at superhuman level, it's like his reflexes and his balance and things like that, so he can move faster than a normal person. It's not because his muscles can move faster, it's because he has such an awareness of his body and the surroundings and his, like, literally the point where he touches the ground, and like that's why he can like run across like cables and stuff.
But that doesn't necessarily help when you're really old.
No, and they balance and that's what we have here.
Yeah, no, I think it makes for an interesting level of jeopardy that you don't always get in comic books, where it's like, well, this guy is enhanced, but also his powers are intermittent and he is old. And so you're kind of watching him go into these situations being like, actually, there is quite a high level of propensity here for him not to walk away from this. And knowing that it's not mainline means that, like, he could die.
Yep.
And Marvel would do that here.
That's the added benefit, and I think also why they just kept going back to Old Man blank, because you can do anything, including kill off the main character if you want.
And so I think it made him, even though I didn't love the way that some of the action scenes were visually presented, it made them quite tense.
Yeah, raised stakes.
Yeah, exactly. Within the premise, I think they created an environment in which it was really easy for them to raise the stakes, and it was really easy for them to make quite an energetic, purposeful action comic. In terms of story content, it's okay. I know Ryan, you want to talk about the story and do a play-by-play much more than I do in general.
Not as much. What I talk about is kind of the main theme.
Right, okay,
So the beats that relate to that. So we'll save that for a little bit, because that's kind of covering like from beginning to end. But what Will says at the beginning, the theme that it seems to start off with, and then we'll get to later kind of how it's, addressed, resolved. Because I was thinking about it earlier, I was like, I really enjoyed this. And I was like, what was the kind of arc here? Like, I kind of had to go back and step out of enjoying it beat by beat and think, what was the kind of overall view here? And I think from the beginning, what I think is about is, in a general term, it's a character dealing with what their place is in the world now.
Yeah.
So we get that in the first scene because it's him visiting the grave of Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
And him talking to the grave.
So who is Wilson Fisk?
Kingpin.
Oh. Yeah. Why is he going to see Kingpin?
Well, I mean, we find out later, but it's related to the ending. But initially...
Did we find out?
Yeah. I'll get into it later. Like, it's not... It wasn't a pivotal plot point. It's shown very, what's the word? Not sporadically. Shown very sparingly.
Okay,
so
I might have missed it.
So you might have, I think I need to go back and like, here's what
Given that
I
didn't know who Fisk was,
yeah,
maybe if I'd known who Fisk was when I saw it, I would have clocked it.
I mean, yeah, it was a small panel, so I will tell you when we get to that. But what I think is him talking to Fisk is him kind of going back to what he was. And he's talking about speaking to Jessica Jones and them like catching up and not talking about if they still had their powers or not and that kind of thing. And then he starts talking about God's plan. And I think that's how it's doing a general, again, a character feeling aimless and wondering if they're doing what they should be doing and their place in the world. That becomes very almost literal in a, what is God's plan for me? Like it's the same general meaning, but it's like almost like honed into his beliefs and, very literal way of being like, what is God's plan? What am I meant to be doing for him? So when he gets to the point of getting his powers back, for him, it's not just I've got my powers back. For him, it's God needs me to do something.
Yeah.
So his concern about being lost in the world and not having a role in it very quickly almost in a snap, is like, you have a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we go from it. And that's what I kind of took away as like the general meaning and arc of this.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I kind of I took something very similar but altogether different away from it. It kind of felt like a story about decay and your changing plate. The way that your place in the world changes as the world changes around you.
Yeah.
So it's we're kind of saying the same thing, aren't we? And I think so. I'm going to get into spoiler territory now.
All right, so I say a few more things before we get into spoiler territory then.
Well, I think it's related, and I think it's kind of about the story, and I think this is a nice point to introduce it.
Let me check how long we've recorded for, and if we're past like half an hour, we're in full spoiler territory.
Yeah,
if you're at the point now where you listened to us before reading it, and now you think you might want to read it, now is the time to read it.
So we meet Bullseye.
Yes,
who is the big bad, and he
looks decrepit.
He looks old. I mean, they all look a bit gnarly.
Yeah.
And he has the Punisher chained up.
Yeah, and so that reveal I thought was great.
Yeah, well, because again, I didn't know the Punisher's name.
Right.
So it wasn't until he called him the Punisher that I was like, fuck, because obviously I knew it was somebody important.
Yes. But who's that chained up on your wall? That's just some guy.
Yeah, exactly. I knew it was somebody important. I knew it would be an old hero. We also see Steve Rogers.
Yes, that was a great moment.
Steve Rogers gives his life. And they the bads get his shield, and that to me is it's such a potent symbol of Captain America and the Avengers and everything they stand for.
It feels like when I have this all the time where I literally like get to the word shape outline of a word that I know will fit here, and I can't get the word itself. It feels almost like a violation, like a bad guy carrying that. And it's not the same as if Red Skull got it, because if Red Skull was holding it, it's like, well, it's his nemesis. Like if anyone was going to beat him for it, should be like his arch enemy. Just some street thug.
It was a street thug
running around with it being like, look what we got. It's like, fuck you. Like you don't deserve that.
And like, I'm in the weeds enough with comic books now.
That means something to me, damn it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, Captain A's shield has like Steve Rogers and Captain America. I've said this before. He's one of my favorites.
He's the best.
You'd think
we'll be doing the Chip Zdarsky Captain America run that's happening right now.
Yeah, and you'd think he would be one that's like, oh, he's old hat, he's a bit boring, he's a bit lame. He makes
old-fashioned cool.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? And he's survived iterations.
He's the conservative who's like, I may disagree with what you're saying, but I will fight to the death your right to say it, and I'll protect you from harm as well. Like that level.
But I don't think he is a conservative.
No, he's very progressive.
He's like, and that's the thing, isn't it? Or even good guy Steve Rogers.
Even outside of conservative or progressive, I think he's just, I will protect anyone who needs it, and I think that's his kind of purview.
And seeing seeing like Steve Rogers at a point where maybe he doesn't even have his powers anymore.
Well, I think he was, because there was a particularly great splash page of Daredevil. There's an explosion. He gets his powers back.
Yeah.
I was going to mention earlier, what I really like is the panel layouts where the panels get smaller and smaller as his powers are coming to.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great visual representation of the information that's suddenly flooding his brain.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that you can argue with Daredevil that is super about him, but he had to build up and learn it, is how his brain processes information.
Yeah, and how he shuts off certain things and tunes into certain things.
Exactly. So we get that, and it's kind of touched on a little bit, and it's a kind of loose story thread, but it is the same radioactive substance that gave him his powers originally.
And that gave the Turtles their powers.
Exactly. And if you ask the Turtle creators and their publisher, yes. If you ask Marvel, no. Absolutely not.
That's so funny.
So it depends who you ask. But then he finds Steve Rogers, and again, great splash panel. He's like impaled with like rebar and stuff, and he's holding up, and he's old, like Matt Murdock, but you can tell that super soldier serum that he's not old.
He's still strong, isn't he?
Yeah, he's older, but he's not, he's not like decaying like Murdock is. And what I really love about that as well, there's a girl who he saves, or Captain America's like, you need to save her, she's important.
Yeah.
And once he realizes it's Daredevil, as they're running away, Cap's still talking to him because he knows he can hear him.
Because he knows he can hear him,
And that's one thing as well, is with Daredevil, one thing I really like, he's one of the few heroes who has superpowers, but most people don't know he has powers.
Mm.
Every other superhero that has powers, it's like the main thing that you know about, that everyone in the universe knows about them. Daredevil is the one that people are like, is he like really fast? Like, how did he know we were here? Like, is he psychic? Like, they're all like that. To the point where actually this writer, I realized after looking up, he wrote on the Daredevil series that was running when I first started reading comics.
Yeah.
So you all knew they were different. I remembered he created the character who was a sidekick of Daredevil's called Blind Spot.
Mm.
And who he was a teenager who had
told me about Blind Spot.
Who had created a invisible costume, like literally a technological costume that made him invisible, bend light around him. But Daredevil could see him. Yeah. And he didn't know how Daredevil could see him. So he just became Daredevil's like sidekick to like teach me how to be as good as you. It's like try to work out. And there's a point where they were dealing with a Inhuman, I think, who was called Muse. And he was like an artist serial killer. Mm. So at one point he painted a mural on a wall that involved like several hundred liters of blood. They're like, a bunch of people had to die to make this. But they turn up and Daredevil doesn't want to let on what his powers are to Blind Spot. So he's like, tell me what you see. And he's like, why? And he's like, so I want to hear you assess the crime scene. I want to, like, we're training you up. So we go. And he's like, thank God. Okay. He's like, well, there's a mural. He's like, yeah. So what's on the mural? And he's like, well, it's like this and that or whatever. He's like, yeah, it's very good. And there's a point where he touches the mural. He's like, thank Christ he was here. I never would have known what was on the mural. I can tell there's blood on the wall. I have no idea what it looks like.
I can smell the blood.
Well, he's like, you can like the texture and everything, but also wants to get their hands on a bloody wall. Yeah. But yeah, so funny point. Anyway.
But again, Cap is one of the few people who would have paid enough attention to Matt Murdock in his life because that's Cap.
And Batman when they crossed over. But that's Batman when obviously, yeah.
Like, doesn't Cap shake... No, it's Superman who shakes everyone's hand, isn't it?
Yeah, Superman, he dresses everyone in the room. If he doesn't have time for a handshake, he'll be like in a military room or whatever. He'll be like, sir, sergeant, Mr. President, like that.
But yeah, I just... So seeing old man Cap was cool.
Yes.
Seeing the older villains, or the older villain, seeing Bullseye as an older man, because Bullseye is a Daredevil bad.
Most of the time, yeah. He's the one that crosses over to a lot of others, but if you had to pinpoint, it would be Daredevil. And that makes sense because, again, he never misses, except when he's throwing a Daredevil, because Daredevil has the senses to dodge his stuff.
And then Punisher turning up was a cool twist, I think.
Yeah. I think especially cool giving Bullseye, so like in the same way that Daredevil is struggling with being old, but he's just got his powers back, and somehow also can sense that the powers are slowly slipping away again. Yeah. And what I liked especially is as soon as he said, oh, they're slipping away, I've got 2 days at best, like oddly specific time, but he is also someone who's lost his powers before, so I guess he has
he has a frame of reference.
I thought it was going to be his powers are slowly going to diminish, so when it then reveals that it cuts out, which he is surprised by, I thought, that's it, like you said earlier, that raises the stakes. Yeah. Because if his powers were just slowly getting worse or diminishing, that's just a timer. But the fact that he can be out in a fight, and he is in a fight, and it's just like lights out for like a second and then lights back on. He's just like,
the one that is the last one is going to be real fucking dangerous.
Yeah. But he's like, try and dodge Bullseye stuff, like while you can't see for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bullseye especially, his version of aging is he's got the shakes. Like he is, there's the lines, not only is he covered in lines because his skin is absolutely fucked, because he's probably the kind of guy who did not take care of his skin while he was indiscriminately murdering people.
Yeah,
But he's also got the lines.
Well, Patrick Bateman. I mean...
Patrick Bateman? Oh, you just named a fictional serial killer. I thought it was like a specific reference. I was like, what's the connection between Bullseye and Patrick Bateman?
Well, no, Patrick Bateman really did look after his skin, didn't he?
Yes, that's what I was missing, yeah. The skin peel at the beginning, yeah. Because I was past, like, the skin part was like 5 minutes ago. Because I'm on a roll.
You're on a roll.
That was yesterday.
Patrick Bateman's skincare routine is legendary.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be played by Christian Bale, it kind of has to be.
Oh, man, he was like...
Yeah, people told him not to do that. His own agency told him not to do that role. Because they were like, you'll be typecast as, serial killer, bad guy, blah, blah, like, don't do it. And he was like, that just makes me want to do it more.
He keeps taking roles like that, though.
And they told him not to Batman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they were like, you're going to be pigeonholed as this for the rest of your life. And he was like, look at Michael Keaton. Like, he's fine. Like, I'll be fine.
I mean, Michael Keaton has gone on to do more superhero stuff.
he returned as Batman. He was the Vulture in the MCU.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And he was Birdman, which is kind of a bit superior, but also a really cool film.
I mean, come on. He's gone from being Batman to being...
Birdman.
Well, no, he went from being Batman to being a bad in the MCU. That's really cool.
And a Vulture.
Yeah.
Went from a bat to a Vulture to Birdman. I thought Birdman might have been before Vulture.
I never considered that.
It's just bird rolls.
But no, I agree with what you're saying about...
he looks menacing, Bullseye.
He looks terrifying. There's something a bit Voldemort about him.
Yes, and I think that's definitely an influence they could take and be like, how do we make him look menacing? And a slight spoiler for the very end, he loses his nose right at the end, so he looks even more like Voldemort. But also this scene, he's trying to pick up the shield and his hand is shaking. So to remedy the shaking hand, he stabs a needle in his hand, and immediately you're like, that's Bullseye. He's I don't know how much Bullseye you've seen and stuff, but generally the common theme is he's fucking crazy.
He's a fucking weirdo. But I suppose but it's a fun thing because he's trying to pick the shield up and he's shaking so much. But of course the shield's made of vibranium. And so it's like it would be really difficult to pick up a vibranium shield if you were shaking the whole time.
Yeah,
because it would vibrate with you.
Yeah, if it's absorbing the shock, then absolutely. There is also a bit that, again, just the little moments that I think really enhance the story for me. Again, like I've always said, like if you give me little details that enhance the story, like that, I'm on board.
Are we talking about him talking about whoever the Punisher was worshipping Captain America?
Oh, I might have missed that point, actually. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no.
And again, because I was like, who in the Marvel universe
worships Captain America? It's like, do you know how little that narrows it down?
Well, everyone likes Captain A, but it's like, who would be described as worshipping him? And then you forget that Captain A is one of the few people Punisher actually respects.
Yep, because he fought in the war. I think these kind of characters, like Daredevil, Punisher, like the moral, like characters that are in themselves, like moral questions, like, the thing with Punisher, I think he begrudgingly respects Daredevil, even though they are polar opposite moralities. But he can't help but respect someone who is at least doing something. Like his whole thing is like the flaws with the legal system and killers getting away and stuff. And even though he considers Daredevil a half measure, he's at least he's going out and stopping crime. Like at the very least, like he's got a begrudging respect. And also Daredevil hands Punisher's ass most of the time.
Yes.
So for obvious reasons.
I mean, as to most of the Avengers.
Well, most time he doesn't fight. Punisher doesn't fight them at all. Like he only fights them because they are on closer kind of levels and stuff.
I suppose they're both dealing with street crime.
Yeah, exactly. Different methods.
Yeah,
for sure.
Slightly different method.
There was a great moment where there was a point a few years ago. It's one of my favorite Punisher stories where he steals the War Machine armor because Nick Fury's like, "Hey, there's something in this warehouse." War Machine was killed at Civil War II. He's like, there's something in this warehouse, like everyone's busy post Civil War II. Like, can you just secure it? Stop, enemies getting a weapon, basically. And Frank just assumes that's probably a nuke or something. And then he actually gets in there. It's like, this fucking War Machine armor. It's like, I think what I could do with this. And Nick's like, I know what you're thinking. Don't steal. He's bloody stolen it. God damn it. He's painted a white skull in the front. It's too late. Jesus Christ.
I mean, why would you send Punisher to get them? I mean, I want to read that.
It's good. It's cool. Fun, yeah. He just goes straight to like a country run by a dictator. Yeah. He's like, hey, I'll take out a evil dictator because I can now.
Because I have rockets and shit.
Yeah. So
I mean, the War Machine armor is pretty crude compared to anything Tony's using at that point, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not got the lasers and stuff, but also Punisher doesn't need that.
Oh man, I didn't notice the fucking Punisher skull painted on him.
I think probably carved in him.
Yeah.
And the added so we're looking at the panel of the reveal. Again, I think it's a really shocking panel. And also, I do this a lot with these kind of comics because there's not many swears, but the few there are censored.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
But I always make this comparison. It's like you can show a guy who is like secured to a wall with obviously having had his arms and legs, like his at the elbows and knees, his limbs removed, and he's obviously been tortured because there's marks on the walls and on him where Bullseye's just been throwing stuff at him, which has probably gone into the skin and everything, and he's got a carved Punisher skull in his chest,
and you can't say fuck.
It's like, what are we doing here? Like,
what is the point of any of this?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're worried about what kids are gonna see or making this so that this is obviously not aimed at kids at all, right? If it's aimed at teenagers, they already know the word fuck.
Yeah.
This is giving them more like things to have like
nightmare
existential anxiety over, like, what if this happened to me one day, as opposed to if a character just said fuck. Like this is another long list of examples of these kind of things.
I fully agree with you.
I think it's a fun game. It's like, you did this, but you won't say fuck.
Like, let's look at all the things you were allowed to do and you weren't allowed to say the word fuck.
Yeah. But this is total Punisher. Like, of course you would end up in this kind of situation.
Yeah. I mean, I just think overwhelmingly, like, there isn't a lot of story, but what is there is good, and it's pretty twisted.
I mean, if anything, I think the problem with a lot of mid superhero comics is
too much story.
Oh, it's just story.
Yeah.
It's just plot beat by beat, plot by plot. It's like, we go here. Oh, we found out we've got a clue to this thing. Oh, we've gone here. The enemy's watching us from the distance, and we don't know him yet.
Yeah.
And then we find this person. Oh, they were about to tell us who the bad guy was. Then they got killed, and now we've got to go here. That's the normal stuff. This has plot sprinkled amongst like Daredevil doing what Daredevil does best, which is narrating in his head, which I do like in this instance because it's not too much. Too. It's just like a little line each time.
And again, where Daredevil is hearing stuff, it's not like, oh, I heard Arthur's voice reverberate through my brain as I was doing this. It's actually him hearing things.
It sounds like he's talking to himself. It's like, that noise. There it is. Listen.
Yeah,
there it is again. Like it's It's
no, I think it's all very purposeful and it's all very well done. I really liked. Yeah, I mean, I just liked it in general. I really liked the way his suit was like a patchwork of oddments that he was able to put back together.
The detail I was going to mention earlier, which got sidetracked, was while he's first running across the rooftops, he's thinking in his head, he's jumped straight back into how he was before, and he's like, right, get the billy club, like take out your billy club, aim the wire, like the hook at that thing, swing across there, and then he moves his hand out. He's like, I've got the billy club. Because he's just got his powers back and he's now running on a rooftop. He hasn't got his costume or anything. So I like that added thought of like, not just that he doesn't have his weapon on him, that his physical, like his, what they call it, you know, when you drive somewhere and you realize like, I've just been driving, like autopilot. It's like that. He's on mental autopilot for being Daredevil. And then he realized, I got the stuff on me. Yeah. Like how quickly it comes back to him to the point where he forgets he hasn't got one of his most important tools on him. So again, little details like that, which I think just flesh out this entire comic.
Yeah, totally.
The general plot, if we want to get towards the ending, because I think, like you say, there's not enough story to talk beat by beat, but the ending is, I think, pretty good and worth at least talking about.
Yeah.
The general plot is there is a girl who has superpowers. Yeah. And she kind of rises in the sky and releases like energy and light. Ironically, blinds a bunch of people at one point, and Daredevil's like, it's temporary blindness, you're going to be fine.
You'll be fine, don't worry.
Of all the characters, I have the least sympathy for someone losing their sight. It's like, you'll be fine, just sit down, just don't worry about it.
Sit down, it'll come back. If not, you can hear. It's fine.
So what it gets to the point of is Bullseye is after this girl and the radioactive substance and stuff because he wants to make a bunch of superheroes. He wants to make more, or not even superheroes. He wants to make powered people. And it's basically explanation. And I think this would be a contrived reason or motivation for any other character who wasn't as batshit insane as Bullseye is. His basic thing is, all the heroes are gone and most of the villains seem to be gone as well. And it's fucking boring now.
Yeah.
And I hate it. Like, he just hates that it's boring as it is. And he just wants to make things interesting.
So let's just crack on.
Yeah. He wants to do almost like a superpowered bomb almost. Yeah. And it gets to the point where they have this kind of big final showdown because Daredevil, he sees where he's gone. We get the bit point just before the end where Bullseye's like, I've got all this equipment and stuff that I use because my hands got the shake. One of them is a Tony Stark-esque suit that a person can get in.
Yeah.
And it just so happens to be controlled by thoughts.
Yeah.
Anyway, Frank, I'm going to let you go from the wall and I'm off, but have fun.
It's so funny, isn't it?
And I think, again, if it was any other character, I kind of had the thought initially of like, that's so contrived of like, what are the odds that Frank Castle would call over to things?
But he's 100% intending for him to do
exactly.
that. Like, he's left it there for him.
And it's subtle enough dialogue because he's like, well, better lay down now, like end of the road. Yeah. Anyway, have fun. And then he tells the guys to go in, and you realize after the fact is not only was it wasn't a contrived thing, it was intentional, as you say, because when you then later find out his sole purpose is to make New York interesting again with violence. He's like, get Frank Castle in a bloody Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
That would be rad.
Yeah.
That would, well, it wouldn't be rad, but it would certainly
It wasn't rad for the people who got crushed, their heads crushed.
Well, I mean, it wasn't good for his goons, was it?
No. But again, Bullseye gives zero shits about that.
No.
He finds it entertaining of like, wait, Castle's up and
Have we seen Bullseye in cinema yet?
So he's been on the Daredevil television show.
Who was he played by?
You wouldn't know him. Like he was a lesser known actor. But there is, I'll show you after this, there's a great fight scene.
Why in my head is he Colin Farrell?
Right, yeah, sorry. He was on the cinema. The Daredevil film from, I think, 2004, I think, with Ben Affleck as Daredevil. Colin Farrell played him. And he did play, like,
right,
the
so
insane
in my
version.
head, in my head, Colin Farrell as Bullseye is totally accurate.
Yes, exactly. And the reason is, I've got that thing where I think a lot of fans do. It's like, yeah, the really good one. Like, that's, the mind goes to that. There's there's a really bad version, like, a decade beforehand. Yeah, no, it was quite... There's good stuff in it, but yeah, it's a bad film overall.
I remember it for some reason. Clearly, I remember it, because in my head, when I think of Bullseye, I think of Colin Farrell, who I love.
When he pulls his beanie off and he's got the Bullseye symbol covered it. And at one point, he's already wearing like a really over-the-top, like Matrixy leather jacket and stuff, leather trench coat. And then he's talking to Kingpin, played by Michael Clark Duncan, who did a great job. Yeah. And unfortunately, he's passed away since then. Oh. So, but good job, Michael Clark Duncan. When you try to pay respects and then move on with the conversation, you're like, I've not done a good job of this at all. No. But then when he's talking to him and he's like, you didn't kill the Daredevil, you need to get him properly this time or get Elektra or whatever. And he's like, I will, but so I want a fucking costume. And it's like, isn't that a costume already? Like, you look like you're wearing a costume already.
And we meet Elektra here. I'm not familiar with Elektra. Or is she just a Daredevil bad person?
Elektra.
Daredevil bad, but a Daredevil
You
villain.
have met Elektra in Born. No, sorry. I can't remember if she is in Born Again now. She was in Man Without Fear. So she was the woman who in University... So you didn't see Elektra as Elektra, but you saw her pre-Elektra.
Right.
But so Elektra is basically, she's an assassin for the Hand, I think. I don't know if that's the current... I don't know if that's always been the case or if it's just the current version. Basically, she's like a deadly assassin.
Right.
And naturally... And also... I would say the main love interest of Daredevil.
But because she's a woman in the MCU, she's probably had sex with Daredevil.
Oh, 100%. Like, no, they had sex before they were both... No, he was superpowered. But they had sex when they were just university students. Yeah, well, of course. Again, it's mentioned in the Daredevil TV show and the Daredevil film that I forgot up until 5 minutes ago, that people are like, how is it that you have always, like, get with really hot girls? Like, how do you know... who is hot and then get with them,
right,
like,
yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know, whatever. It's like, and then in the Daredevil film, they did a scene where he's like, we need to stand in the rain. It's about to rain, and then I can really see you, but I'm not telling you that I have powers or anything. And then it rains, and he literally sees like echolocation.
Right.
So the sound of the raindrops creates a 3D image that he can see this woman by. And he's like, oh my God, you're beautiful. Like, that, but
so what? Does he just wait until it rains?
Well, it's like a romantic thing where they're standing on the rooftop, and he's like, "It's about to rain. Like, don't you want to stand in the rain with me?" And the raindrops in the sand.
But he's there at a bar, and he's like cracking on to somebody, and they're really hitting it off, and he's like, "Oh no, this sounds weird, but I do just need to pop a bucket of water on you."
Yeah, we don't know if it's his go-to routine, his game or not.
I mean, ultimately, at that point, doesn't fucking matter anyway, does it?
No, exactly. But yeah, so some people would say Karen Page is the main one, who was the one from the Born Again series, who sells his identity and then he just immediately forgives. Personally, I'd say Elektra is like his equal, like the one, they have the same kind of thing. And Elektra's been Daredevil, like even recently, like she's just taken up the mantle and he's like not in the picture. But yeah, that is a kind of random appearance here.
Well, like, she just sort of pops up for, a single fight and then naffs off again.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of...
She does offer him the opportunity, a Deus Ex character.
Deus Ex character, yes.
She does offer him the opportunity to be young and powerful again, though, and he doesn't take it.
Yeah, I think they kind of wasted that a little bit. I thought that was going to be a bigger point in like the third issue, and then it's just not... It
sort of pops up at the end of the second act, and we don't really make a big deal of it.
Yeah. This is very... So the panel where she shows up, it's very Frank Miller, his own drawing style, which got real bad after the Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. But I almost think that's even... I would say that's almost a homage to him, because Frank Miller's one of the biggest Daredevil writers. Yeah. So I think the artist was like, I'm going to make this look a little bit like his awful art. Yeah. Just for shits and giggles. But it still fits with the overall thing. Yeah, I thought the "you could be young again" thing was going to be a bigger point, because it's a story plot in Batman, because one of his enemies, Ra's al Ghul, has the Lazarus Pit, which keeps him young, and he's like centuries old. So naturally, there's been plot points where people are like, "Hey, Bat, why don't you use the Lazarus Pit? Then you could be Batman forever." And he's like, kind of drives people crazy. But if I resist it, I could be Batman for longer and help more people. Like, oh, which do I go for?
It's bad super. He just sort of goes, well, no, that's not an option, and cracks on with his day.
And I think that could use a little more of the Catholic viewpoint. Well, yeah, it's unnatural. Like, he could be like, yes, I have powers and I, use them or whatever. Like, but I won't voluntarily extend my life past what is natural because again, he believes in God's plan. But then you come up with the whole religious debate of like, maybe sending Elektra to give you this offer was God's plan, or that kind of stuff. But then that's part of what makes the character interesting, is him kind of determining what is and isn't, in his opinion, God's plan.
Elektra's the one character here that I don't think is very well drawn.
Well, this is what I was saying. I think she is. I genuinely think she's a homage to Frank Miller's bad art. Yeah. I'd say, let me see if I can...
Oh my God.
So I've literally just searched Frank Miller bad art. Doesn't Wonder Woman in this look like Elektra in the comic?
Yeah, I mean, that Wolverine on the far left.
Yeah, that's just absolutely awful. But the Wonder Woman, like that hair especially, like, it's really bad.
That got published.
Yeah, that was, I think that's in, what's it? Yeah, that's The Dark Knight Returns Part 3. So again, Dark Knight Returns 1 is revered as one of the best Batman stories ever.
Oh, we've talked about this. Frank Miller just forgot how to draw at a certain point, didn't he?
Between 1 and 2, apparently.
Wild.
So that's why I think how Elektra looks in this comic, I think it's a direct, like,
a straight homage. Yeah. No, I think it is. I think you're right.
Because again, really we know this is a good artist. And we know they've painstakingly chosen how this is presented. I think it extends to how this particular character looks.
Because it just, I mean... There's a portrait of her and a portrait of him side by side, and the portrait of her is really quite awful, and the portrait of him is really not that bad.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I think Frank Miller was a big fan of the Elektra character, because he did most of the stuff with her. Like, what she's most famous for in his Frank Miller's run is she was killed by Bullseye.
Right.
So then Daredevil has that close, like, almost killing Bullseye afterwards. Yeah. To the point where actually he beats the shit out of Bullseye to the point where almost all his bones are broken and he's still not dead. And then he goes to Bullseye's hospital room with a revolver with one bullet in, and he basically plays Russian roulette with himself and Bullseye. And Bullseye's like full body cast, like he can't do anything. And he's just talking about like Elektra and his memories with her and stuff. That's like a great single issue. Yeah. And then do you want me to spoil the end, or because we could read it at some point?
No, let's read it. Let's read it. That sounds really fun.
So I think Elektra being a big Frank Miller like character, I think that's why she's the character who looks like this. It also somewhat is still consistent with the rest of the comic, but she stands out as being worse drawn.
And this is 3 issues that was meant to remain as 3 issues, isn't it? So like we've read the whole arc.
Yes.
And so the ending is kind of, I mean, a little...
it's a little super shenanigan-y.
It resolves. It totally resolves. I think it is, it is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, we get to this big showdown thing. And to be fair, it does make sense because, again, you can excuse with Bullseye a lot of like, why is he doing this? He's insane. But it then reveals they're having this big showdown and Bullseye's like, oh, I fucking love this. Like, don't you love doing this again? And Daredevil's a bit like, I do kind of love it. Like, this is pretty good. We're still stopping you and you're evil, but this is pretty fun. And then it reveals that the reason Bullseye is doing this, and he does a thing where it happens in a lot of media nowadays. It happened in Fantastic Four. Hacks the TVs in New York, and he's plugged his phone into a cable that's just like the main one they all use.
There's a HDMI cable. Yeah, there's a USB-C poking out of a building,
and he's got an adapter so it fits in his phone. And he's got one of those phones that has still the aux whatever in it. But then it turns out he wanted this spectacle because he wanted everyone in New York to be standing around watching this. And then he lets off this bomb of this radioactive substance. And then that gives Daredevil another burst of his powers coming back, which I think, it's a little bit... Thank God that happened at this time, but also it's entwined with the story.
It's at the end of the third act. It's in keeping with the story. It's the thing that we have found out he's been trying to do for the entire time. I don't think it's that terrible.
No, it's not like a character turned up, it's like, Daredevil, I've got some more of the stuff. Like, put this in your eyes or whatever. It is like, that is the plan the Bullseye was doing.
Yeah.
I think the most contrived part of it, and there's always some contrivance with any fictional story, really.
Well, particularly comic books.
Yeah, is that the chemical Bullseye's managed to get a hold of is the same one that gave Man Murdock his powers in the first place. Yeah. And again, that's just how many there's probably loads of them in the Marvel universe.
Tons of them.
But maybe there was only a few in New York. So, but yeah, we get the beginning, and then it's basically a power outage from the explosion of this gas, and everyone's kind of turning on each other. And this is where Daredevil, very Marvel superhero thing in general. He's like on the floor. He's not sure what to do. Also, great moment where it's a button. The old villain that he's got a single button, and once you press it, things go boom. Daredevil manages to get away from him. He chucks it away, so it's out of reach. And Bullseye, who's had his nose bitten off by Frank Castle, that was great. And just classic, do you remember who this guy is? Do you remember what his name is and why he's called that? And he spits out a loose tooth, which ricochets off 3 different points and hits the button. Yeah. And again, very much in line with the characters we are presenting. They're using the characters in interesting ways to further the plot.
Totally,
That sounds like the most basic.
That's his power.
Yeah, but it sounds like the most basic. Well, of course, that's what you should do, especially with super powered, characters. But it's just done really well here.
It's not always what happens either, is it?
No, exactly. Yeah. So. Yeah, everything's gone bad. Gas is all everywhere. And then we get Daredevil doing that, summoning the strength from down below, as superheroes typically do. But I think where it comes back into the larger messaging that I was saying at the beginning is realizing in that moment, there's a power outage and there's this gas everywhere. And this girl has powers that can literally light up the place and disperse the gas. Yeah. So that's where it kind of roots back, where he's like, I thought God gave me my powers back because I was going to save the day in some, crazy spectacle.
But really, I just saved the person who would.
Exactly. It's like, he's actually, and then he becomes the messenger. And that's the big thing, and especially Catholicism, isn't it? Your purpose is one in a larger thing, and God has God's plan and all that. So I think that tied in with it. Well, he managed to get to the girl, save her, encourage her to use her powers, and I think Daredevil just dies.
No, he can see it.
Yes, he can see what's happening.
So maybe he's kept his powers.
And in a very literal sense, that ties back to, at the beginning, he's talking about he's trying to justify how good his life is, even though it's quite aimless. And he says, what a beautiful life I have as far as the eye can see. So him being blind, that's sarcastic almost. Yeah. And now he can see it. And I think they tied it. I think it got lost a little bit in the middle, but I think it bookended it. Established the theme, and then it pays off at the end.
I think this was a perfectly good. I think this was a very
cromulent comic.
Yeah, I think it was perfectly cromulent. I think it was really good.
Yeah,
for all of the reasons that we've stated for the past hour and a half that we've been talking about it.
Right, so we're going an hour and 10.
So before we do finish, I have something I want to show you.
Oh wow, you're surprising me on this one.
I am, because it's related to a big interest of mine, but it's also kind of something that you've always had and always made use of, and it goes to
is this movie about Blender?
The recent Fantastic Four film.
Okay, so
Casio have released a full line of Casio G-Shocks,
and they are Fantastic Four themed,
and they are themed after the recent Fantastic Four film.
Are you about to prompt that we should get a one each?
Well, I mean, firstly, I just wanted to get your opinion. So if you are listening to this, grab whatever device you are listening to this podcast on and Google Fantastic Four G-Shock. Because
G-Shock.
G-Shock, yeah. So Fantastic Four Casio G-Shock. I'm currently wearing a G-Shock.
A non-Fantastic Four one.
A non-Fantastic. Yes. So this is the standard Casio G-Shock.
Which I was considering getting one. So yeah,
how fucking cool is that?
Looks very cool. Do they all come in white?
Unfortunately, yeah. So it's every variation of the G-Shock. So you've got the fully digital, and then the sort of military spec one. And I know quite a few military people, and they all use one of those.
Right.
And then the Casio that I have.
So they are just general Fantastic Four themed, because what I was imagining was there was going to be like an Invisible Woman one, Mr. Fantastic one.
They're all just generically Fantastic Four. But
There's going to be one that was on fire.
But how handsome is that in person?
It's a very good looking watch. And if I wore more white stuff, like white colors in my personal look, I guess you describe it as.
This is the issue for me, because to be honest with you, it's not silly money.
$99.90.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And I think you can...
It's an investment.
Well, it's an interesting Casio G-Shock drop. And they do various, drops. But I just wanted to get your opinion on it, because
I think it looks...
you are a big fan of the Casio F919R, aren't you?
Yeah, so for anyone wondering, that's the basic digital watch. They designed it in the 80s, and they didn't change it because they got it right the first time, or at least that time.
And I have an F260, which is that with the metal, with the
only problem with mine is the strap broke.
Yeah, and they do, and like they go on the G-Shocks as well. It's the first thing that goes on them, because those modules are fucking bulletproof.
Yeah, I paid like £5 or something for it when I first got it.
Yeah, I have an F268.
Yeah, I was going to correct you, but I thought you'd get to it yourself.
I have an F268.
Right.
And again, the first thing that went on that was the strap. And the resin strap on your F919 lasted so much longer than the metal strap. But there is something about a Casio G-Shock, like the bigger form factor. You can get it with either an analog face or a digital face, and I know you wear both, don't you?
I'm probably more digital nowadays, because I like the stopwatch and the alarm and everything like that.
I mean, the digital G-Shock does so much. Yeah, they're incredible. But yeah, I just thought, given that they'd brought out a Fantastic Four one, and do you know what?
If it's comic book related, so I can mention it on the podcast.
Well, it was just
which are the rules. They are the rules.
I just wondered what your opinion on it would be.
I think it looks cool, and I would prefer it if it came in a blue rather than a white, like the Fantastic Four colors.
100%. Yeah. I think I would have picked one up if it was in blue.
Like I said, when you first said it, what I imagined in my head was I thought blue, Mr. Fantastic, see-through for Invisible Woman, orange flame colors for Human Torch, and like a brown with like that line texture for the Thing. So that's what I had in my head. And I was like, that's really cool. So unfortunately I've made the mistake where I think a lot of people do, where you imagine something way
more interesting. Because what they've done is made a really smart looking G-Shock.
Yeah.
Like crystalline white, blue accents, really smart looking thing.
For people that white is part of their fashion palette, or if that's even a phrase, like that's perfect. Like that's exactly what they need.
And this is the issue. I don't know when I would throw on a white watch.
Well, yeah, it would fit your skin tone a bit more. I've done a bit of research on this, and like your skin tone, this is the worst fucking podcast content, which I thought Watch Talk alone was just going to be like, Watch Talk, you didn't know you're going to get this. Yeah. And now we're veering into some stuff I don't think anyone gives a shit about.
Fashion color theory.
Basically, white as a color works better for you, I think, than it would me, is what I'm saying. So, yeah. Watch Talk, and don't be surprised if now you're keeping an eye out for them. Every big superhero film that comes out, you're going to be looking for the Casio.
Well, what I didn't talk to you about when it happened was AP did a really expensive Spider-Man watch a few years ago. Yeah, and so
one of the classic kids digital watches is like a Spider-Man design. That and a Dora the Explorer. Like those are the two when people think of like a child's digital watch that's like dirt cheap. You probably got it in a Toys R Us or something.
So AP is like high-end luxury watch.
The expensive version.
And so they did a Spider-Man watch. It was a fully mechanical watch, but they did a hand-sculpted Spider-Man that sat actually in the mechanism.
Right.
And so you could see all the way through the watch, through the movement, but there was a fucking sculpture of Spider-Man, like where if you looked at the back of the watch, you could see the soles of his feet, and the front of the watch, the face, he was like there.
Yeah.
It's like a few £100,000 worth of watch.
If there was a Daredevil red G-Shock, that would be like, for me, like a dark red Daredevil, like that'd be great for me.
In the 2000s, they did a black and red G-Shock for Spider-Man. which is cool.
Yep.
But vintage now and very hard to get hold of. The thing with those G-Shock drops is you need to make a decision when they're new and the authorized dealers have them, whether or not you're going to pick one up, because
they go quick.
They go quick and they go hard on the grey market.
Yeah.
So like £100 for a G-Shock is like, yeah, that's totally acceptable. If you can afford it, that's a nice thing to be able to buy. Not that expensive, do you know what I mean, in the grand scheme of things? That will be £300 on the grey market within 6 months.
Yeah. So
Easily.
You got to get in there early.
Yeah. But no, I just, I've never talked about watches on the podcast, nor would I ever, really. Yeah. But I was just having a scroll through what Casio was releasing this month and saw a Fantastic 4 G-Shock that looked really cool. And I was like, I definitely want to get Ryan's take on it. Yeah,
no, I'm glad you did. Because again, super related. So it definitely counts. And anyone listening, if you were looking for a watch, you didn't know it, but you just got the best recommendation you're going to get on a comic book podcast.
The hottest pick.
Stake my reputation on that.
The hottest pick.
In the same way we had the best £10 steak you could possibly have. It's like, this is definitely the best watch recommendation on a comic book podcast you will ever hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So I think we've fulfilled our contractual obligations.
We have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye. And thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe to get notified of our future episodes as well. And if you're feeling particularly generous, then please leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you're using. If you'd like to get in contact with us, then send an email to comiclit@gmail.com. You can also watch videos by me on the Comic Stand YouTube page, which is linked in the description. Thank you, goodbye.